Hi, this is Frank Schaeffer, painter and writer. I'm standing in front of an unfinished work that I've been working on now for about a month and a half, and I will continue to work on until it's done a month and a half or so from now, as part of the series of my Pinocchio dolls falling from the sky in the age of Trump, the liar's liar. But today I want to talk about something that comes from my evangelical background that perhaps I understand better than some other people do who don't share that background. You know, I fled the evangelical religious right in the late 1980s after my dad, Francis Schaeffer, died in 1984. I was his nepotistic sidekick in the big-time religion movement of those days, back when I was in my young 20s flying around this country in Jerry Falwell's borrowed jet, talking to the Southern Baptist Convention, etc., etc. And I left all that and became a secular novelist, and thank God had a little bit of success in that area, and also a painter working in a secular environment, but with an understanding of the religious right that, for instance, gets me on MSNBC once in a while, or programs like Fresh Air with Terry Gross, talking about and commenting on the evangelical subculture, the religious right that produced Donald Trump. Donald Trump is about as far away from those people as you can imagine, but you have to remember that 81% of white evangelicals put him in power. People talk about the alt-right and the white underclass and all the rest of this, and Appalachia and hillbillies and all these people who neo-Nazis and others, but what they forget is that without that 30% of the American population, representing 81% of the evangelical vote, these true believer evangelical fundamentalists, Donald Trump would not be president. Which is why Mike Pence is going to run for and become president in 2020. He will oppose Donald Trump or replace him if Trump has already fallen by the wayside through either impeachment proceedings, investigation, arrest, indictment, whatever it may be. But Mike Pence is positioning himself, raising money, reaching out to people, and unlike Trump, he is a true believer. Trump believes only in Donald Trump. He is a liar's liar. Mike Pence is an ideological theocrat coming from the hard right of the religious right. He will bring with him all that support. All those other people who want to oppose Trump from the Republican side would fail because they don't have Mike Pence's credential as a true believer's believer, a right-wing ideologue cut in the mold of the people I worked with back in the 70s who were trying to turn America into a theocracy by turning the clock back on feminism, on sexual liberation, on gay rights, and other things. Mike Pence could win, and he might well, because on the other side, the Democrats have lost their moral vision of looking at human beings not as sources of a growing economy, the kind of Uber model, the Google model, the Microsoft model, the Facebook model of success, the Silicon Valley model of success built on what was actually a federal program called the Internet, but rather talking about the higher moral ground of community, of participation, of caring, of sharing, of putting other values ahead of economic growth and values. And since the religious right still speaks in those terms, however falsely, however patriarchal, however ugly, however much they have ties to the alt-right and white supremacists, they still speak in those moral terms of life having meaning and purpose and being of greater value than simply competing. He could well win. And the Democrats will continue to lose until they recapture the high moral ground of community, compassion, and caring about things more than career, more than the economy. So the Democrats talk about a better deal and all the rest of this infrastructure reconnection, jobs, jobs, jobs. What they forget is that if that is not couched in a call to a higher moral ground, folks who still believe that life is worth more than simply an economic chart, who believe in things, however misguided, as evangelicals do, will continue to be attracted toward candidates who actually speak in those terms. And I'll just give you an example from my own life and then wrap this up. The greatest joy I have in this life is sharing this studio with three of my 5 grandchildren who live across the street, Nora and Lucy and Jack, little kids ages 9, 7, and 3. And in this studio, you see this corner with clay and a baby, and I have paintings that I did with Lucy here We did a series of icons and so forth and so on. What this studio is about is not economic growth or me trying to sell my work. It's a place where I connect with what actually means most to me, what I value most, and that is my connection with my family, my community, my children, my grandchildren, what I can do for them, picking them up at school, dropping them off, talking with the young mothers in the parking lot and the waiting room there when we pick our children up. What we're all concerned about is a greater vision for our children than simply going off to Silicon Valley and becoming a startup person or going to Harvard and trying to get a degree and join the upper middle class and so forth and so on. We want our children to understand that life is beautiful, that it has value, that it has meaning rooted in selflessness and in sacrifice and giving to others. And until the Democratic Party starts capturing that language again, Mike Pence and his ilk, these fraudulent white oligarchs, will continue to cash in on those people who long for hearing the language of moral values when we discuss national policy, rather than just cold, dead economics, as if what we all want is to be Silicon Valley drones making billions of dollars, the next Amazon, whatever it is. Most of us have higher aspirations. Democrats had better key into that. Mike Pence will be the next president. Thank you. My name is Frank Schaeffer.